I'm back in the chair here, bringing you a cheese recap live from the red depths of hell. With the black pieces in this game, it's the one and only world number one and Blitz Code champion Magnesium Carlsentient being, and playing with the white pieces, an old enemy, Nodibek Abdusatorov. Youngster once won the World Rapid Chess Championship at Magnus's expense. Always a great fight. It's days 2 of the freestyle chess malarkey. They're in Wiesenhaus in Germany here. It's the quarterfinals and Nodibek has to win this game because Magnus won yesterday. Let's check it out. We get knight b3 on the board here. Magnus plays the usually stinky pawn f6. His good friend Hans Feingold, not a fan of that one. e4 and e5 from Magnus. He makes some lightsaber noises as he opens up the bishops. f3 in response. Nodibek not to be outdone, and knight c6 defends the pawn which was already attacked. Threat to capture it. Craziness in this format. And now I've got to tell you, it's move 4. Think of one of the smelliest moves you can, right? It's what Nodibek goes for here, ploughing down with the explosive c4. Very ugly move, weakening squares, pushing p in front of the king, but like said, he's trying to mix up the game here. So knight b6 attacks that one, this one defends, and now another weirdness, but this is chess 960 for you, freestyle chess. We get knight a4 here. Now there's a common saying, a knight on the edge of the board is an absolute loser, really ought to reassess his life. But the idea here is that you're freeing the way for the b pawn to potentially push, attack, attack, attack. So what do we see in response?
Mushrooms.
d4 for the score. Good move, countering in the center. We see captures, knight takes, and queen e5. You know, we had Nodibek with the white pieces, but suddenly it's Magnus with the initiative. You know, if queen d2 to defend, you can run into some bishop b4 stuff. If queen f2, bishop c5 stuff, you can kind of tiptoe around, but it's uncomfortable. So knight c2 was played, backpedaling faster than my hairline, that's why it's hidden today. The pawn on b2 is attacked here, but defended for the time being, and so Magnus goes a5, clamping on the b4 square, and queen d2 starts some activation. f5 now from Magnus, good move, and you can simply capture that pawn. Game goes on, but once again, Nodibek mixes things up because he's going for that must win. So f4 was played here, sacrificing a pawn. Magnus duly captures it, but now you get bishop d3, bit of momentum. This knight hits c3, so you're piling on the pressure here, about to win a pawn, and when you run this with stock barnacle, they're very happy to just defend the pawn, right? Who knows what Nodibek's idea was after that. He's basically playing for initiative. But what we see Magnus do is spawn this seahorse here, attack the bishop. Yes, he allows the pawn to drop, but after queen f6, bishop f2, he now completes some development here, and you'd be very unwise to capture this pawn. Didn't really understand at first why this is an issue. You know, it takes control of this square where the knight wants to hop, but then again it's a weak pawn. However, you have to remember that whose move is it? Say you go g3, black can castle here, and you bring your rook to an open line instantly. You know, this is why it's such an advantage to have opened the d-file. So we run back. After bishop e6, we didn't see the capture. Instead, the bishop retreats, but now Magnus can soon chop off the bishop pair. First, he wins this pawn on f4. He's still one to the good. We get bishop g3, scything down that diagonal, hitting some tasty morsels. This queen saves itself, and now I love this. This is what we call freestyle castling. Bang, you can go either side. You can go queen side, or you can go king side. The king always ends up on the same square, and the rook. Magnus could push b5 here, but he copies Nodibek. No need to shake it up. Quick king safety fist bump, exploded out by the players. We love to see that etiquette. And after rook hf1, hitting the queen, you could nudge back here. Strange looking move, but instead Magnus takes with check. This queen recaptures. He's picked up that desirable bishop pair, and of course, what does he do? The most Magnus move ever. He goes ahead and sticks that queen on g6, offering the trade of the ladies, and you just really can't avoid it. You know, if you go queen d2 here, gets super passive. This one's so active and aggressive, so you do have to take double these pawns, but you're in an end game, pawn down against the end game goat. I mean, just look at Gary. He's absolutely loving it, bleating away. One of Magnus's biggest fans, has been for years. This rook's now attacking h2, held for the moment, and now the knight d5 natural move is played, hits that outpost. Magnus goes pawn d6 here. This rook hits a new file, open file, attacking an undefended bishop, but Magnus blocks the way now with the pony, and although you can have it captured, here's his point. He takes on d5, and what we're getting here is some liquidation of pawns and pieces in the centre. That one drops, but so does this one. How could Nordebek drum up chances here? You're playing one of the world's most elite grandmothers, 5-time world classical champion. Knight's now under fire, and it's defending the pawn, of course. So we now see rook f7 played, going for a counter-attack, and Magnus doesn't actually take here. You can do different things, but really nice shot. He plays rook h5, supported of course by this double G, and he's saying you can't take my rook here, or else I'm going to take here in betweener, then win back, and I'm actually a piece ahead. So after rook h5, we see rook e6 played. Nordebek's rook's looking really active there, proper cannons, but now Magnus can take with check. This one captures, and he takes here, liquidation. This one has to be captured to try and keep some balance, but now you get to check here, and you can't of course step to b1, or else the second rook slams down and you're actually checkmated. So this is why this one had to intercept the way. We see it leave the board. Pawn recaptures, and Magnus is a pawn to the good, and these ones looking very, very tender. Rook d6 defends. Now this one advances in the end game, and Magnus just goes to town, starts doing his thing here. Exchange of prisoners. He sets up the old pawn chain in just a moment, all three connected, and even though this white pawn makes great progress, now Magnus can swing around behind it, stop it from queening. This rook supports it, and after king c5, that monarch is getting super active. This one driven back with checks. This one sacrificed, but it's an exchange of prisoners. 2-on-1 still. This attacked, check first. Now we see this one drop, allows this one to drop with check, but king b3, and here I've indicated it with an exclam simply to show that Nordebek resigned the game in this position. Why? This is a known one king and pawn endgame. The pawn is running, and the white king's actually terribly placed. You know, could never step this way, gets checkmated, so you drive it out, and even though you can give some checks, you make this steady progress here, you know, something like this, and ultimately the pawn goes through. You can block with the rook. Different ways to set it up, but you'll always be able to queen that pawn and somehow block the checks at some point. Sometimes you build the bridge on the fourth, known as the Lucena position, but you'll always be able to get that pawn through when this rook and king are so well placed. This one can't defend from in front. Great game by Magnus, got the job done. He advances to the semis. Exciting stuff in this tournament. If you're enjoying, do consider subscribing, really helps my self-esteem, and have a look at the video on screen for some more epic chess. Cheers.